Hi, my name is Marie. Recently I read to my granddaughter on FaceTime. Her dad then asked me to read his book to you. He wrote this story when he was a little boy, and now it's a book. The book is about an octopus named Hank who needs new shoes. The book is written by Gallagher and illustrated by Darren Gate. The name of the book is Hank's New Shoes. "Good morning," said an always cheery Hank the octopus as he lumbered into the shoe shop. His 8 long legs took him from the door towards Mr. Turner, the shop owner, who stood ready to help his first customer of the day. "Well, good morning to you, Hank, and welcome," said Mr. Turner. "What can I do for you today?" "My feet are sore," replied Hank as he took a seat on a fun blue bench, wiggling out his tender tentacles. "I think it might be time for some new shoes." "Well, you've come to the right place. I have all kinds of shoes to choose from," Mr. Turner said, pointing to the displays stacked all around them, shoes to fit almost any job. A bit puzzled, Hank asked what a job had to do with shoes. "Shoes are like tools. The right ones go a long way to making your work easier. Do you have a certain type in mind?" asked Mr. Turner. Hank looked around for a moment. "I never realized shoes were so complicated. Which ones do you suggest?" "Perhaps we should start with some sneakers," Mr. Turner offered, pulling a pair from a rack. "That sounds like a great idea. But why would I want sneakers?" asked Hank. "Sneakers are perfect for exercising. They're flexible, with rubber bottoms. They keep you from slipping in the grass," Mr. Turner explained as he gently bent one to demonstrate. "See? Athletes wear them for competing." Interesting, thought Hank. But what is an athlete? "Athletes play sports like soccer, basketball, and all kinds of running events," said Mr. Turner. Reading Hank's mind, "they entertain us by competing and inspire us to stay healthy." Hank quickly nodded. "That's what I want. I want sneakers so I can be an athlete and entertain others." He laced up a nearby sky blue one and held it out on his foot to admire it. The sneaker looked great against his orange tentacle. "Well, Hank, there are all kinds of entertainers. Are you sure you want to be an athlete?" asked Mr. Turner. Hank tapped his chin with a tentacle and thought, "How else could I entertain and inspire people?" he asked. Mr. Turner looked around the shop for the right display. "I also have dance shoes," he started to say. "Dance shoes," interrupted Hank. "What are those for?" "Tap dancers use the metal plate on the bottom to make music." Mr. Turner put a shiny black tap shoe on each of his hands and danced them across the bench next to Hank so he could hear the tap, tap, tap sound they made. "Oh, that sounds like fun," whooped Hank, thinking of all the performances he could do for his friends. "It sure is, but it takes a lot of practice to perform well," said Mr. Turner. "I definitely want tap shoes. I want to learn to be a musician with my feet," said Hank as he slid one on and started a clumsy jig. "You sure are entertaining," Mr. Turner roared with laughter as Hank tripped over an open box, tumbled onto a shelf of shoes, sending footwear flying. Hank blushed, but Mr. Turner waved off the mess. "Are you sure tap shoes are for you?" Mr. Turner asked. "I have lots of other types of shoes. Boots don't require the same rhythm." "Oh, please show me," replied Hank, eager to bounce back from his stumble. Mr. Turner plucked a tan shoebox from the pile. "Here are some great construction boots," said Mr. Turner, opening the lid. Hank's eyes widened at the orange laces. They looked like fun. "What would I wear those for?" he asked. "They protect engineers from uneven surfaces, mulch, and debris," explained Mr. Turner. He flipped a boot over to show Hank. He showed him the thick sole. "I probably should protect my feet too," agreed Hank. "But what is an engineer?" "Engineers design and build all the structures we see every day. Houses, buildings, roads. Without them, we would be out in the cold and have much harder time getting around." Hank got excited, thinking of all the ways he could help. "I think I should get some construction boots too," he said. Then he pulled on a tall steel-toed one for protection from falling objects. He looked around for another shoe to try on and spotted a thick pair with furry lining spilling over the top. "Oh, what about those?" he asked, pointing beyond the closet rack. "They look even warmer." "Those are snow boots. They're for trekking through the snow," said Mr. Turner, pulling them down from the rack for Hank. "Why would I want to do that?" Hank thought out loud. He ran a tentacle over the soft fleece of one, and it felt like a snuggly blanket. "In some places it snows a lot in the winter. The extra padding and tall sides keep out the icy cold," Mr. Turner said. "Snow can pile up and make it tough to get around, so sometimes rescuers have to lace these up to assist people who get stuck." Helping others is always a nice thing. I should get some snow boots too," Hank decided before Mr. Turner could say another word. Hank was wearing a heavy, furry, bright yellow snow boot, dreaming of all the drifts he would ascend during a rescue. "Okay, but be careful wearing them if the snow gets really deep," Mr. Turner warned. "Even the snow boots can be very difficult because you start to sink." "Oh?" said Hank. "What would I wear to go through deep snow?" "Cold weather explorers wear snowshoes when searching for answers like where bears go in wintertime." "Wow, bears! Where do they go in wintertime?" asked Hank. "I think they hibernate," said an amused Mr. Turner. "But maybe you could be an explorer and find out for sure." Hank thought about being an explorer, and it sounded like an excellent job for a curious octopus. "Oh, definitely. But why do snowshoes help?" he asked. Mr. Turner held one up. "See the big area they take up, but also how strong and lightweight they are," he said, handing a wooden one to Hank. "This spreads your weight out over more of the snow so you don't sink down as far." Before Mr. Turner had finished, Hank was strapping on a large, teardrop-shaped snowshoe. He examined it and compared it to the other shoes he was now wearing. "This is different than all the other shoes that cover both the top and the bottom of my feet," said a puzzled Hank. His eyes darted amongst all the different footwear at the end of his tentacles. "That's true, but there are other shoes that don't cover your whole foot. Just look at these flip-flops," said Mr. Turner. He pulled a pair from beneath the bench. There were straps on the top of each shoe. "What?" asked Hank. "Flip-flops," repeated Mr. Turner. "People at the beach wear them when the water is warm." "Excellent," blurted Hank, who loved the beach. "So they're for relaxing in the sun?" "Well, usually, but people who work at the beach, the lifeguards, they wear them on the job too when they walk across the sand while keeping swimmers safe." Before Hank could say anything, Mr. Turner smiled and followed with, "And I assume you'd like to keep people safe at the beach too." "Absolutely. How did you know?" Hank responded, holding out a tentacle to have a flip-flop placed on it. "Lucky guess," chuckled Mr. Turner as he helped Hank put on a green one. "But if flip-flops are good for the sand, some boots are good for mud, sneakers good for the grass, some shoes are good for hard floors, and others are good for the snow. Are there any shoes for moving around in the water?" "I spend a lot of time swimming," Hank explained. Mr. Turner raised a finger as an answer struck him. He dug beneath a mountain of boxes to pull out an extra large and flat one. He opened it and showed Hank what was inside, a sleek rubber pair of flippers. "These long flippers help scuba divers glide through the water when they're swimming under the waves," he said. "The webbing helps move the water so the diver propels forward." Hank pulled one from the box and waved it in the air. "Maybe these will help me when I'm exploring the reefs," he said. And with that, he tried on a snug-fitting red flipper, too. Hank looked at his tentacles, each with a different shaped, uniquely colored shoe at the end. "Wow, I had no idea there were so many kinds of shoes and so many kinds of jobs that needed special ones," said Hank. "But wait, Mr. Turner, you aren't wearing any of these." "Why not?" "I'm not participating in a sport like an athlete. I'm not performing a dance routine like a tap dancer. I'm not building a roadway like an engineer. I'm not rescuing anyone in the snow. I'm not exploring an Arctic wilderness. I'm not keeping people safe on a hot beach. And I'm certainly not scuba diving right now." So then what are you doing? I'm running a business and hopefully giving my customers, like you, outstanding service, said Mr. Turner with a smile. What shoes do you wear for that? Asked Hank, looking down at Mr. Turner's feet. The shop owner sat down next to Hank and held out his foot to display its shoe, a brown leather one he could slip on and off. I have an uncomfortable pair of loafers. Business people wear nice shoes like these to be professionals. Hank stretched behind him for a nearby loafer with a bright copper-colored penny tucked into the top for decoration. Mr. Turner, you're an excellent businessman, he explained. I want to be a businessman just like you. At that, he put the brown, shiny new loafer on his remaining bare foot. Mr. Turner now blushed. Thank you, Hank. It's compliments like yours that make me love my job. He patted Hank on the shoulder and stood to begin cleaning up. You have a fantastic attitude and an inquisitive mind. You'll do great in any job you choose. Hank stayed put on the wooden bench. As long as I have the right shoes, he said. Now, which ones do you suggest? I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I do. If you'd like to know where to get a copy, just go to this address.